Welcome back to Suan Sook Homestay and another video about what we've been doing in the garden recently, which is something I really love. Lots of planting. It's always great to get into the garden and be planting or to be preparing to plant. So I hope you enjoy the video, and don't forget to ask if you've got any comments or questions about what we're doing. We'd love to know. Or if you've got suggestions about how you do things in your garden, please do let us know. This week I've been doing a lot of what I really enjoy doing in the garden, and that's planting. Pansa's been nursing some seedlings, getting some seedlings ready in the nursery, and now's the right time to get them in the ground. Well, some of them have been sitting in the nursery for a bit too long maybe, but I've always got to take time to stop and give our dogs some attention. This is Lamio. She's such a lovely pet. She's got to be coming up to about 9 years old now. We've got a few different seedlings in the nursery that Pansa's got ready for me. Today I'm going to be planting some type of a red spinach that she's got from somewhere, and some okra or some ladyfingers. We've got some tomatoes there that are just about ready to be planted, but I need to put some structure up for them to climb on first. So I've prepared some soil down the back here to start planting some of the spinach, and just getting down into the ground, weeding it out a bit, and having a nice time, just really being this close and this in touch with the soil, and putting something into the soil that's going to grow, that we can enjoy eating, is always such a pleasure. It's such a simple pleasure, but it's so enjoyable. It's something I do with a grateful heart, that we can live in this location here in Northern Thailand on our property at Suan Sook Homestay, and for most of the year we're able to grow food that we can enjoy. The only reason that we're not able to grow food is because I haven't learned how to do it all yet. I haven't learned the right timing for the right seasons for the right plants. It's all part of a big learning curve. I've prepared another plot of ground over here, and this is a bit of a new area that we haven't planted anything before. And because I've got so many of these little spinach seedlings, I thought I'd drop some in the ground over here as well. So just putting in a few rows of them here in this area. And then also the okra, the ladyfingers, are going in here. I think these, I'm pulling out some papaya that have just sprouted in the pot as well. Pansa told me once that if you're going to visit someone, you don't take papaya and you don't take bananas, because they both grow like weeds in Thailand, so it looks like you're giving away your weeds. And they do. The papaya just sprout up all over the place. So next I took them down into what we call our mango orchard. We've got a few mango trees down here, and it's quite a low area of the garden that has tended to get waterlogged quite easily. So it's been very challenging to get anything much to grow here, but I've been building some raised beds in here around the base of the trees, just to make some guilds in the garden. So sort of building up around the trees, planting around these built up raised gardens around the trees, to just diversify the garden a bit more and to reduce the amount of lawn that I've got. I don't like mowing lawns, so the less lawn I've got, the happier I am. So the next thing I needed to do was go and select some pieces of bamboo that I'd cut earlier this season, that I could then cut and split so that I can build some structure for my tomatoes to grow up. And these are, it's pretty substantial bamboo. It's pretty long, it's pretty chunky, so I'm just splitting it down with the little electric chainsaw, just to give it a nice easy split, and one that's going to be nice and straight. So I'll just rip it, just the surface of it, because this bamboo, it's tough. At the base of it, there's no actual hole in it, there's no gap in the middle, so it's really, really solid. So if I'm just splitting it with a knife, it's really difficult. So I thought I'd just try it like this, rip it down with a little chainsaw, and give myself a guide to slide the knife down. So we'll rip both sides. I just got the knife, the big machete, slotted it in, and just hammered it down, and it splits it quite nicely. So I cut my stakes to be 1.5 meters tall, and I've decided to build a kind of a tripod thing with them, because last time I planted tomatoes last season, I was not pruning the laterals so much, I was just letting them grow. So I need a structure that I can support the tomato plant. It's not going to grow super tall, but it's going to have more side branches that need supporting. So I'm just trying out this method that is, it's a tripod using 3 pieces of bamboo and just tying it fairly close to the ground, maybe about 30 centimeters up from the ground. So when they're young, the plants will have something to climb up, and then I'll add a little bit more bracing and structure further up, and then once I've got, I think I'm going to put 4 or 5 of these tripods along this patch of garden, and then tie them all together with a couple of longer pieces. So this will hopefully support my Uncle Leo heirloom tomatoes just nicely. But it's trial and error. I've not done it like this before, and it was a little bit tricky, a little bit, they were a bit wonky, a little bit wobbly. I prefer not to use wire. I like to just use string when I'm tying these up because it's biodegradable, and I find when I'm taking these things down, if I've used wire, I have to cut the wire and get little bits of wire everywhere. I'll try and collect them. It's a bit of a pain, but if I'm tying them with string, this is nice biodegradable natural twine, then that can just be cut off and just left to drop in the garden and decompose in the garden without any problems. Whereas if I'm dropping bits of wire like this, it's a pain in the butt, it's horrible. So I prefer not to use it. I did wrap the base of the tripods with wire initially just to give them a bit of strength and a bit of staying power. But this twine that I'm using will last for the season, no problem whatsoever. And then the next evening I got in there, it was a beautiful evening. I thought I'd better stake them down first just to make sure that if we get a bit of wind or if there's a bit of weight on them eventually, they're not going to wobble. So I just drove a couple of stakes in and screwed them on to the base of my tripods to give the structure a bit of stability. It's very enjoyable working in the garden like this in the evening. The heat's gone out of the day a bit, and it's just delightful when we've got some sunshine. Often at this time of the year there's clouds sitting on the top of the mountains over the hills and blocking the horizon, blocking the sunset, but on this day it was just gorgeous. So quite nice to have a bit of shade to work in though, because even though it's close to sunset, it's still pretty hot in the sun. So I just got to and got all these planted, and then just paused a little bit. Our neighbours have planted their rice, the water's running, so I've got this lovely sound of the running water, and then this beautiful backlit young rice in the evening light was just gorgeous. So I find it's pretty important just to pause every now and again and enjoy the garden like this, or enjoy my neighbour's garden. And next day was onto a bit of a chore. I don't have many chores in the garden, but I don't like working with plumbing and don't like working much with PVC in the garden. But I've got this one exposed pipe here that I've managed so far in about 8.5 years that it's been there, never to hit it with the weed whacker. But just the other day I nicked it slightly and put a nice little bit of a split in it. So the next time I went to turn the tap on, it was spraying out like a fountain. So time to get the repair kit and patch it up a little bit. And then I actually need to repaint it because I'd painted it grey so it didn't stand out, but now I've put some extra PVC in it. It looks a bit ugly, but I'm pretty happy that it's managed to last so long. I had given the plumber, when he initially did this, I'd given the instruction that I don't want to see any blue PVC in my garden, and we've managed it pretty well, but there's a few places where it's exposed. So next I was onto the hyperbolic paraboloid that I have constructed, that my beans are growing up very successfully, and we've got some new seedlings, so I needed to clear away the debris. The last ones I think finished about a week ago, the last long beans that we picked from here, and so it was a matter of clearing out the old and then taking out some of the extra small pieces of bamboo and then putting that down the back for storage to use for something else. Stop recording. And then spreading some bamboo leaf mulch in the centre of the covered area that the paraboloid provides, and then getting the beans and planting them just around the perimeter, around the edges, keeping the bamboo leaves away enough from these seedlings. It's not good to put seedlings close to bamboo leaf mulch that don't like the silica in it when they're very young, but needing the bamboo leaf mulch underneath because it's just going to start growing weeds very, very quickly if it's not there. And having mulch down just keeps the soil in better condition too. So again, another lovely evening to be doing this. Nice bit of sunlight and warmth in the day still. Very, very pleasant working in these conditions outside and just enjoying it. And then this was a few days later, I was into the compost. It's not quite ready, but ready enough for what I need it for. And it's, this is again another pleasure that we can use what we grow in the garden. If we're not eating it and we're not using it for mulch, it's going in the compost. And then also adding in some comfrey and tomato plant tea that I had made, just giving it a bit of a stir before I add it to the watering can. And so I'll make a little concoction here and then add some next to it. I've got some worm casting tea, so I'll add worm castings in this other bucket, so I'll just add a little bit of that because it's quite strong. And then to this I will also add some of our photosynthetic bacteria, so I'll just put a good slosh of the bacteria in there, and this will help to make the nutrients in these goodies much more available to the plants as I water them in. Now taking the compost that I've just put in the bucket and just putting a handful around each of my tomato plants that at this stage now have been in the ground for probably 5 or 6 days, I think. So they're established, they're looking quite nice. I've got new leaves on them. I pop down a little bit of compost and just give them a bit of a boost. Because I find, the soil needs that replenishment, it needs the food, it needs the compost, it needs the compost teas that we're making just to give them a bit of a boost. And then perfectly after I'd done this, we got some rain that evening, so just a nice slow gentle rain that was able to water it all in and should be giving our plants a really good boost. So there you go, there's another video about what we've been up to recently in the garden. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please check this one out next. I'm sure you'll really enjoy that too. And thanks very much for watching this one all the way through.